Hello, welcome to The Orbit, and today we're going to be interviewing Abbey St. John. She's going to come into the live stream soon. Let me see if I invite her. Boom. This is the smoothest one yet.
Hi.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going. How are you?
I'm doing really well. The
Can you hear me
legs.
good? This is
I'm
good?
Yes, this is
Okay.
excellent.
Cool. Sweet.
It-
Sweet.
How you doing? What
Good.
you been up to?
Not much. Just sort of floating around. I get my diploma in May, so yeah, I know. It's
From
crazy. From PNCA, so I got my BFA, which was a 4-year program
at
uh
PNCA as
at
well.
PNCA, yeah, for illustration.
Got it. Cool.
Yeah.
And PNCA, just for viewer, Portland.
Pacific
Oh,
Northwest
okay.
College of Arts. Yes.
Got it. Cool.
Yes.
Well, tell us a little bit about yourself. People may not know. I know a little bit, but what do you do?
Yeah. Okay. So my name is Abbey St. John, Abigail on the old birth certificate. Um, I've always loved doing art, and so I pretty much knew I was gonna go to art school, and I applied to like 2 places. PNCA was one of them. Um, Immediately like declared as illustration just because I knew what I was gonna do. Um, and I guess what that means is for me primarily editorial, so lots of magazine work, publishing work. That's what I'm mostly interested in. What else? I'm an Aquarius,
Yeah.
rising
Cool.
Leo, Virgo moon.
There we go. We got it covered.
Take that as you will.
Question:
Yeah.
how did you know for so long that you're gonna do art?
I guess it was like the first thing that I was ever so excited about doing, and just like some of my earliest memories are like me illustrating my own stories and then being like, "Mom, tie these together." Like my editor, my mom, that's what I
Yeah.
like to call her. I was like, "Get these to the press. Like tie these up." So just like I have tons of books at home that are just like illustrated books tied together with string. They're pretty legit, and I still like. They're so funny to look at.
Nice. So your
Um,
parents were probably like super supportive and
yeah,
just
yeah,
stuck with
definitely.
it.
Yeah, my mom, like my grandma did a lot of art. So I think that definitely has something to do with it. And my mom, she doesn't really do
Uh-huh.
any art, but like she's like a super supportive lady. So, and like
Nice.
has taken out many a Parent Plus loan for me, so she's an angel.
Right. And so now
Yeah.
you're getting your degree in illustration?
Yeah, so it's like BFA, Bachelor of Fine Art, but like majoring in illustration.
Cool. And what does that
Yeah.
entail? What kind of work to
Basically,
get this
like,
degree?
so the program, there's a couple of different programs. Like, it used to be, there was one called like General Fine Arts, but now that's intermedia, which is a confusing term for like picking 2 things and going with those. So a lot of people that I know who have graduated from that program have done like, oh, I focused in sculpture and writing. And for illustration, it's a lot more straightforward. It's sort of just like, um, you just take the classes that you need to take for that program, and it's really like it's a lot of work, and it's the biggest major at PNCA by far, so it's pretty competitive, which I found great. Like I actually love
Yeah.
that environment. Like I love that. um, so that was great, but it's a lot of like the first year is a lot of concepting, so it's a lot less freedom, and I think a lot of people get super frustrated with that really
Right.
fast because they're
And
like, I'm just
concepting.
here. Yeah, just sort of like it's God. Like some of the first assignments are like, okay, I need you to like do a portrait of a musician, and I need you to make
Right.
like thumbnails. There's all this jargon, but like thumbnails. So like 30, like not actually the size of your thumbnail, but like really small. Here is
Right.
the basic part of like what I'm trying to do. But it was like 30 to 50 of those, which is like I hated that. I hated that. I
Right.
was like,
So
no, but I had this
concepting
like, yeah, I had
was
this
kind of
one
like really
idea.
focused stuff.
Yeah, and that was hard. And I mean, even before that, PNCA requires a God, what did they call it? Foundation year, which is where it is literally it's a year where you are taking like you take like a wood shop class, you take a painting class. You basically before you declare, you take all of these sort of different things and see what you like. And I found that really frustrating, honestly, just because
Yeah.
I was like, I'm gonna be an illustrator. I already know, let me do it. But
What's
it
your
was
medium?
good.
Yeah.
For me, I mean, originally, like when I came to PNC, I hadn't touched like a tablet or like even messed around in Photoshop that much. So I was like super uncomfortable with that. But now that's all I do, like
Okay, so it's
pretty
mainly
much.
Photoshop and
Yeah, Photoshop, Illustrator, not so much. That
uh-huh.
shit's hard. InDesign, for sure. As I get more into sort of like publishing and things like that, I enjoy that more. But yeah, originally it was just like pencil, I was like, here I'm drawing. But yeah, and I don't know very many artists at all who do traditional or analog art,
Right.
really. Um, I mean, and the people who do, it's like a 50-50. So it's sort of like taking
Mixed
these
media.
illustrations and bringing them into Photoshop to finish. Yeah. But for
Cool.
me,
I have this just to illustrate your
oh my
style.
God,
I
look at
love this.
that.
It was
Jesus
so good.
Christ.
So this is the
That's
kind of stuff that
precious.
Abby does.
Oh my God, that is so funny.
You're
Oh my God. And it's one of those things where it's like about after a month after I finish it, I'm like, I hate this.
You really? I love this thing. I was showing this to my friends, and they're like, "This is so good."
That's
But
so funny. Like my art practice has changed so much. It's crazy. That's
when
so
was
funny.
this?
That was like, damn, like 2016 maybe?
Yeah, and so in 3 years, just you did a
Oh
like a
yeah,
complete turnaround.
it's totally different now. Yeah, I'm just like, what? Who is that? Did I make that? That's crazy. But
And what
like,
were you doing this in Photoshop, or is this mixed media as well?
that was mixed. Yeah, I was still a little bit more uncomfortable with Photoshop. Um,
So
my God.
it's such a unique style, and your style's a little bit more like stylized. It's almost cubist.
Yeah, yeah,
uh,
I like that shit.
how how did you like develop your style? Because it's very
Yeah,
unique and it's kind of niche.
I think that's always like what you expect. You're killing me when you go to when you go to art school. You're like, I gotta find my style. I gotta like find my thing that people recognize it. And I think I don't know. For me, I really tried to harken back to what inspired me originally. So I looked at a lot of Golden Book art because I just had so many of those. So sort of like really graphic, um, really sort of 1950s, 1960s
Right.
design work that's sort of
So
flat.
when you say golden book, you're those little Disney like
Yeah, so like
with
yeah,
the
the
gold
little
binding.
yeah, like the pokey little puppy, stuff like
Yeah.
that. Yeah, sort of like classic, just like shape based stuff. Mary Blair, even though I'm not really like Disney, I'm not super into that, but she did a lot of concept art for like Cinderella and Peter Pan. And it's a lot of graphic flat work. And I guess for me, it's sort of it was looking at that, but also my desire not to do realistic looking art. Like that's just not what I want to be doing. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
interested in like making like a lifelike image. That's not for me.
Yeah, you're
So
here to
sort
have
of
fun.
I'm here to have fun. I'm here to have fun and like make some shapes and put some colors on there. Yeah, I just was like, I'm not doing that. So it sort of became like, how simple or abstracted can I make something and still have it be recognizable and like, yeah, so sort of just like a symbol of what it is, I guess.
Cool. So you were
Yeah.
initially inspired by like golden book art, really basic like flat art stuff.
Yeah.
Who who inspires you now?
Oh my God, so many
All
artists.
of them.
Like, I really try, like, I recently, so at Pals, where I work, recently had Keith Nagley, who I
I
love.
saw that. I
He's
wanted to
a dang
ask
old
you.
genius. I love him so much. His work is really great. And he's so funny because his read aloud was great, but you could tell that he was kind of like uncomfortable around children, which like killed me. He's just like, yeah.
And what is Keith Negley known for?
So he does a lot of editorial work. So you can see a lot of his work in like the New York Times,
Right.
like all the big papers.
I think my favorite children's book by him that I'm aware of is like My Dad Used to Be So Cool.
Yeah, that one's great. That one's great, and that's Flying Eye, which
Uh-huh.
I love them. They're so great. But yeah, he had amazing advice. He was so. I invited all my roommates, the three people I live with, who are art makers as well. I invited them. I was like, "You gotta come down here. Keith Thankfully's gonna like read his book, and then we can totally talk to him." So we went up, and he was just so excited to talk shop. Like he loved talking like illustration business, which was
That's
so
so
nice.
cool. I feel like
He,
most people are.
yeah, he was like, "Oh my God, thank God you're like adults and you want to talk about like professional art making." And so he like had some really great advice. He was like, "Stop looking at contemporary people. Don't look at them. Just don't do it." And we were all just like, "What? That's
What
all
does
we
he mean?
do."
Yeah,
Yeah, he's
like what
like,
does he mean?
"No, look at old dead people. Like go back like as far as like ripping on people's art and sort of like imitating art, you can totally do that with dead old people. Like go back, study like the original, the people that you're inspired by now were inspired by someone else. Go find that person."
That's really good advice.
Yeah, I was like, my mind was blown, and I immediately was like, what? So I seriously like went upstairs to the Pearl Room and like got all of these old dead art books, old dead guy art books.
Yeah.
It was
Like
great.
who?
Yeah. Paul Klee, he does a lot of sort of um shape-based, I guess, cubist. I don't know how he describes it himself or
Uh-huh.
did. Pretty sure he's dead. He's dead. Uh, but yeah, just like going back in time, getting inspired by other stuff. Because, I mean, I think a lot of what I struggle with and other artists struggle with is sort of like the need to show how productive you're being all the
Oh
time.
my
Like posting
God,
on
yeah.
social media, you're just like, if I don't post a piece of art today, I'm a piece of shit and people won't think I'm a real artist. But that's like,
Yeah.
come on. Like,
Yeah.
you're the only person thinking that. Like, because no one cares actually what you're doing, you know? I don't know. It's just like, that's hard.
It
Social
is
media is
hard.
hard.
How do you approach social media to try to like navigate that?
Yeah. Yeah. Um, I don't know. It's hard, and I love social media, and I get
Mm-hmm.
like so inspired by what I see. But it's also like, oh, they're making such good work. I'm not making good enough work. I'm not
Right.
making enough work. So I really just try and like, I really remind myself not to do that. Like when I start doing that, it's just like, no, you're making valid work. You're like a young person. You're still improving. Like I feel
Right.
pretty good where I am right now. I guess I just try to make art for myself or for fun. I do a lot of like self-initiated projects that are like I'll read an article and be like, I'm going to do 3 spot illustrations for this because I like it. And then I'm going to tag the person who wrote it and like do that sort of thing. Um, I find that when I do that, I end up like gaining followers or like just like having people reach out and talk to me more, I guess.
And so this is like draw this in your style or
Yeah,
no?
it's that too. I actually did that recently, and that was like
Okay.
really fun. And I ended up talking to like some of the artists who did it. But I mean, um, like the other day, I read this article, "The Husband Stitch," which was
Mm-hmm.
deeply upsetting, very disturbing article. But I was like, wow, that was amazing, and it stuck with me. So I wanted to do like art in response to that sort of
Okay, so you
thing.
like read
Yeah,
articles and things
yeah.
online and then you'll draw a piece inspired by that.
Yeah, so sort of like, and I mean, that's like the work I want to do. like getting
Right.
hired to illustrate for things like that. So I've been trying to just do that like without getting paid and without like being prompted to do so, but it still shows that I can
Good
do it.
practice. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, I saw that you did a piece for Portland Design Week.
Oh yeah.
How and that was like an
That's a
editorial
real job.
piece.
That was like my first real job.
That's
Like,
awesome. Tell me about
yeah.
that.
That was okay. First of all, Jen Wick, who was my art director, is
Uh-huh.
an angel. I love that person. She just like was so receptive. She knew it was like my first job, and she like because she like found me through PNCA, so she obviously knew I was like a student and that this was my first job. Um,
So Jenwick found. How did you find the job? How did you connect to it?
my mentor for my thesis,
Hmm.
Kristen Rogers Brown, she sent my information and website to Jen Wick, who's the art director.
Okay.
And then she emailed me and was like, "Hey, I saw your portfolio. Like, it's really strong. We should work together." I was like, "Yes, please, let's work together." I was like, "Yes, hire me." And yeah, it ended up being so great. She was like a really great art director, and it was just like she gave me all the written material, and I read over that and did quick turnaround. So I think after 2 days, I sent her like my three sort of like sketch ideas. And then she was like, "Oh, change this, do this, like this would make more sense," that sort of thing. And then even at the end, I was like, I don't know. It was just, I had to end up, which was probably a good thing. I had to end up emailing her and being like, "Hey, I haven't received my paycheck yet. You said it was gonna be sent this day, so I'm just checking in." Which is, I mean, I'm going to be doing that a lot.
Right.
Like, I
Yeah.
will be.
Nature
I
of the
know. So I was
beast.
just like, "No, I hate this. I don't want to do this." But she was like, "I am so sorry. Like, good for you for like reaching out." I was like, "Thank you. Thank you very
Yeah.
much."
Jeez.
But yeah, so I got paid. So that's great.
So, how many times did you have to like redraw this thing?
Um, so I sent her like three initial sketches and then we
Mm-hmm.
sort of closed in on one and picked
Okay.
one for the project. So the project was about empathy and that I made two illustrations. The theme for the week was empathy, and then the article I illustrated for was about treating AI with kindness,
Right.
which was like, I loved the article was great. I'm blanking on the author,
The
but
art is really cool as well. That's
thank
like kind
you.
of my
Thank
jam.
you. Yeah, it was like it was an awesome article and it really inspired me. So we closed in. Damn, I guess I sent her six because I did three for each concept. So
Uh-huh.
empathy and then the AI one, and then we sort of picked the two that we liked, and then I did like a tonal sort of tweaking, so grayscale,
Mm-hmm.
and then sent her color. And we messed around with the color a bit just because originally I think it was like green and blue just because like robot you sort of think like blue I guess, but she ended up picking like the warmer toned one, which I'm
Right.
glad she did because I love that color palette. But yeah, it's sort of like a three-step process, three plus a little more with like the emailing.
Right.
Emailing is just like no one likes to do it. It just
No.
sucks. It's the worst. Like if I
Um,
send an email I don't want to send, like it's a victory. I love that. That's like the best
right.
feeling ever.
For pricing, how did you determine pricing?
So for that job, they sort of determine pricing,
Okay.
which thank
They
God.
just
Like,
told you.
yeah, they're like, we're paying this much for the job. I'm like, thank you. I'll take it. I love it. And I mean, it's a lot different for like freelance. And I mean, that's
Right.
freelance too,
It's
but
so
like
flexible.
it is. It's
Yeah.
flexible, but it's a messy, messy business because you want to, there's this like epidemic of people paying illustrators badly and like setting that as the standard for what people should get paid. And that's just not it. You got to fight for like yourself, but also for other illustrators. Like if you were like, yeah, you can pay me $50 for this cover art. No, because that
Yeah.
screws you and everybody. It's like, it's terrible.
And the main thing is just like to talk to other illustrators and let them know, right?
Yeah. And I mean, that's luckily like living with other illustrators. I I ask them all the time, like, I'm doing this illustration, like, what would you charge for it, or what have you charged for it? Luckily, it's like a really open like community.
Right. That's super
Yeah,
important.
yeah, and like my mentor, I asked her all the time. I still talk to her all the time. We get coffee, and I'm just like, so yeah, what should I do? Will you read this email? Like, yeah,
That's that's incredibly helpful to have someone with long-standing experience in the field.
yeah, yes, for sure.
Um, I also saw that you had another book in the works.
Oh
The
yeah.
Things Will Get Better.
Yeah, so that was my thesis project. That was like my thing,
Where
my
can I
book.
get it?
Oh my God. I know. I'm like that's another thing I'm currently thinking about is like what do I do with this thing? Like I have it
It
right here.
looks
Hold
really
on.
cool. Yeah,
It's a
visual
book,
aids.
baby. Yeah, it's I still feel so weird about it. I feel like I'm having like postpartum, honestly. It's like a weird like giant project that I'm like, "Oh, okay, you're done. I don't want to look at you for a while." Um, just because it's about like mental health and like
Right.
dealing with trauma. So it's just like, I decided to just gut myself for my thesis. I was like, here we go. Let's just dive into that childhood trauma and just
Oh
really
man.
dig at it. Let's go. But it was hard. It was really hard. And I still feel so weird about it.
How
I,
long did it take?
it's like a 6 months process probably, which
Yeah.
like for a thesis, like making a book was bonkers. Um, and I'd like to reattempt it. I don't know. I still feel so weird about that project just because it was so personal and I hadn't really
Uh-huh.
made a lot of like deeply personal art before. Um,
Learning
yeah,
experience. As far
totally.
as like the fit, like binding and everything, did you do that yourself or?
Yeah, so okay, so I got it through Blurb, which I really liked. It was a very fast turnaround. I gave myself like 3 weeks out of like before my presentation. And I seriously got it in like 4 days.
Wow. Blurb
Yeah,
is that an online service?
it is. Yeah. And
Okay.
so it's great. I highly recommend it actually because the quality is really nice. And I paid a little, so I bought an ISBN with it, which they offer. So it has the ISBN, and then I paid a little extra to get rid of the ugly logo that they put on it. And then I paid a little extra for like white end pages instead of this charcoal gray that they like to put on there. I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. Um, but yeah, I really like the quality it turned out, you
It
know.
looks great.
Thank you. Yeah,
Is it
I'm
on sale at Powell's? Like
that's the
no.
thing. The
It's yeah.
Each copy cost 82.75, so not super, you know,
It costs
affordable.
$82 each.
Yes, to make
That
them. They're big boys. I forget how many pages it is, but it's like 36, 32, something crazy. And hardcover, full color. It's I did it for my thesis. That's like
yeah,
the only reason. It's
that's like
insane.
4 times the price of a retail
It is.
like
It's
book.
so that's why whenever people ask me, they're like, "Where can I get it?" I'm like, "You can't. It's I don't know what I'm doing with it yet. I've written I've rewritten and revisited like my artist statement for it and sort of
Hmm.
like the writing I did for the project and sort of had like a little pitch folder together. And I'm still doing a lot of research like where will this fit in the market? What
Hmm.
publishers would even be like interested in this
Interested.
work? So that's like the research I'm currently doing. Because I would like to like release it into the world for sure.
Yeah, but not
Um,
at $82.
no, no. I sold one to the PNCA library for for like 160 or something. So I like made money on that, which was nice. But yeah, it's just like
It's a
in a
lot.
weird it's
Yeah.
a lot. It's in a weird spot. I'd like to give it something, do something with
Right.
it. Yeah.
For for like the future of your career, now that you're like getting your diploma, you got some editorial work in your back, you have a lot of experience.
Yeah.
What do you hope to see yourself doing in the future as far as the next 5 years?
Yeah. Well, I think like right now I actually love working part-time at Powell's. I like having like a part-time job that's like sort of connected to my interests. Like,
Yeah,
I mean, a lot connected to my interests, but it's like, I don't know. I like having that and I like freelance. So maybe sticking with that for a little bit.
that seems like a good
Um,
setup because you have like a reliable
it's
income, a
fun.
community.
Yeah. I like having both. I'm really a fan of reliable income, really a
Mhm.
fan of like the 9 to 5 personally. But there's also something really fun about like freelancing. Two of my roommates do that full time and they work really hard and I don't know how they do it, but
Yeah.
like for me, I like having sort of that income, but also a place to get away from art too. Like if I'm working on a project and I'm like, okay, I got to step away from this because I'm going to my job and just like dick around with the people there that I love and
Cool.
like, sell picture books. But yeah, sometimes it's good to get away from
Yeah.
it.
It sounds really like wholesome.
Yeah, yes.
And as far as like the freelance stuff, you want to do you want to do more editorial work? Do you want to do children's books?
I think I love editorial work and I think I'm gonna like build my portfolio towards that a little bit more. Sort of making more of those self-directed projects, like I said. But yeah, I would love to do publishing. I think that's a little trickier. I'm not as familiar with like that market. I talked to a couple of friends earlier, like Sierra Miller. She recently illustrated the tie-in middle grade novels for the Hilda Folk series, which is through Flying Eye. And so I was
Yeah.
like, okay, how'd you do it? Like how'd you get your little boot in there with Flying Eye? Because they're, like amazing. Um, but yeah, she talked about like agents, like getting an agent. So I'm like considering that, like I don't know, considering like finding someone that I'd like to work with around here who's like a writer who would want to make a picture book and then we could like pitch it. But yeah, I'm thinking honestly, agent is where my mind goes for that because I don't
Yeah.
know anything about like the industry really. So like finding someone who does and will like hook me up with writers,
Yeah.
probably what I would do.
It's so like from what you're telling me, all of the hardest parts of what you do is solved by like having mentors in a community.
Yes, pretty much. Like I don't know what I would do without any of them, and like yeah, they're amazing, and I try and keep up those relationships. Like I try and have coffee with my mentor like every couple weeks, even though we're like, she doesn't have to. We're like friends now,
Right.
which is nice. I'm like, yes, thank you for still being there. But yeah, like all the faculty at PNC is like that. I feel like I could reach out to any of them and be like, hey, can we get coffee? I have like a question for you.
That's super valuable.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool.
For like we're almost at our time and I
Mhm.
have two main parting questions. The first one is if anyone's trying to do what you're doing, what do you think is the best advice that you can give?
Oh, yeah. I mean, draw every day, make something every day for sure. Um, like a sketchbook. I have a sketchbook and I try and do a lot of sketchbook work. I try to draw from life, but I don't as much as I should. But that's like an invaluable skill as far as like applying to art schools. That's what they want to see
Mhm.
is a lot of life drawing. I would say like don't be too concerned with like having a style immediately because that's just like will come with time
Right.
and it just changes so frequently like you saw like already
Yeah.
I'm like who the hell is that, who is that art, like I don't know that person anymore, and that's kind of exciting and freeing, and like my art will probably look different in a year or like be more refined than what it is right now or less depending on where I go with it. But yeah, I feel like just drawing every day and not worrying too much
Yeah.
about like, you know, the social media aspect. Like,
Don't let the pressure get you.
no, just like have fun.
Do draw.
Do the drawing.
On that end, who are people that you think we should check out? Who are your favorites? There's Keith Negley,
Oh my
obviously.
God. Yeah, okay. Okay. Anka Gladnick. I
Anka
love.
Glad.
Yeah. Anke Gladnick.
Okay.
One of my roommates who I love, who's very talented. Maria Rodriguez, my other roommate.
Okay.
And Victor Gomez, my other roommate.
So
They're
just
really
check out
great.
the collective.
Check out.
Do you
We're
guys
the
have a name?
7A. We're 7A. That's our collective because that's our
I
apartment.
like it. Cool.
Yeah, and they're all super talented. But I also love like Juhi Yoon is one of my favorite illustrators. She does like a ton of great picture books. Michael DeForge, I just got my book signed by him last week at Floating World. He's a comic artist.
Cool.
There's
Michael
so many.
DeForge. Yeah.
Yeah, I
just
could go on. I could like go forever, but
Right.
yeah, so many good
Cool.
ones.
Well, we'll check
Yeah.
out to see who you follow. And this is awesome. Thanks for talking about your process.
Yeah,
Just
no
because
problem.
I meet so many people, like, basically, because of the internet and because of social media, a
Yeah.
lot of illustrators are getting a lot of traction very
Yeah.
fast. And
Yeah.
people I meet, like, are just trying to figure it out, and they don't have the community that you do.
It's hard.
And,
Like
yeah.
a lot of people who like don't like art school, that's like half of why I think it's like sure it was really expensive and I'll be paying the student loans for the rest of my life probably.
Mhm.
But like the people and the connections I've made are so valuable. Like,
And that's what it's for.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's so worth it. I love it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, let us know when you come out with another book, and thanks again for talking to me.
Will do. Nice to see you.
Yeah, say hi to all the Pals folks for me.
Will do. See ya.
All right, see ya. Thanks.